These lectures, many of them are similar to the lectures I've been doing over the last 15 years of my life. I don't change a lot in these lectures. I find that the way they are works pretty well for the purpose that I'm trying to achieve and for the benefit that the people who are listening to, inshallah, will find. I add a few things here and there, but for this lecture specifically, this is pretty straightforward. I like to start out by talking about how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum in their lives were taught by the Prophet ﷺ to prepare themselves before Ramadan. And they would spend months before Ramadan talking about what they were going to make dua for during Ramadan, and how they were going to commit in Ramadan, and how they were going to do i'tikaf in Ramadan. There was a lot of planning going into the concept of what Ramadan was going to look like for them. And some scholars, like they have a quote where they say they would spend 6 months after Ramadan or 5 months after Ramadan saying Allahumma taqabbal minna Ramadan, and 5 months before it saying Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. So they had the year either asking Allah to accept the last one or to get them to the next one. And Ramadan has always served as that stepping stone. Like it's always served at that point, that anchor of the year, that month where you're just anchored in. Like you're jumping from one Ramadan to the other, because in between Ramadan there's a lot that goes on that Allahu Alam if it's good or not, accepted or not. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us. But Ramadan, we know for sure that there's an advantage for everyone. There's an advantage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up the gates of heaven and closes the gates of Jahannam, and calls upon the hearts of His creation, and they all come running to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even those who are lost for the majority of the year, far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the majority of the year, they find within Ramadan some solace and some degree of closeness and barakah. And you can't deny it. It's something that's easily palpable. So I like to start by just talking about what a plan looks like. And today, that's what we're going to focus on. I would say if you have a phone or a pen and paper, you can work with me as we go along on this. Because this is where, I do this every year. I honestly, and I kid you not, I've been doing this for over 20 years and I still do it. I still find actually joy in doing it. And my team knows that I have my Ramadan plan for the durus way in advance than before Ramadan. I prepare all of it. I love to prepare for Ramadan in terms of what to do, but also in terms of personal ibadat, to make sure that you have it right. Because it's an opportunity, as I pointed out today during Jumu'ah, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to miss it. If you want an opportunity to serve you well, you want to take advantage of it fully, right? If you respect the opportunity, you will take full advantage of it. If you don't respect the opportunity, then you won't. So if you respect the opportunity, you're going to do your best to take full advantage of it. A way to take full advantage of an opportunity is good planning. This is just simple common sense. The best way to take advantage of an opportunity is to plan well for it, especially when there's no surprise involved. You know when Ramadan is coming, you're not going to be surprised. Maybe at the first day, but you won't be surprised in months in advance. You'll know when it's coming your way. So if you prepare for it, I honestly, and people thought I was joking today, someone asked me, I honestly have already booked off next Ramadan. No, not this one. I've already booked off my time for the one after. I already went back and looked. It's going to be something around February 8th or 9th, and I already went and figured out the last 10 nights. I'd already slapped that whole week off, and Eid, it's already off now. Now I don't know if I'm going to live long enough to see 2027, but if I do, I'm already off for those last few nights, at least the nights that I need to be off. Sometimes I just take mornings off at work. I take AM, just half days, just so I can sleep in after tahajjud, and then I go in for my afternoon clinic, and sometimes I can't. But regardless, a good practice in Ramadan is to plan for it. Make sure that because that's showing respect. That, Ya Allah, Ya Rabb, you gave me this opportunity, I'm going to make sure that I do everything within my power to do my best within it. And a part of that is planning in advance. So the first piece that we're going to talk about, I'm going to narrate for you this hadith narrated by Imam Bayhaqi and Sayyidina Jabir. The hadith, there is some dispute on its authenticity. My teacher, Shaykh Nuruddin Aitar, Allah yarhamu, authenticated it as being Hasan, as being an acceptable chain of narration, an acceptable authenticity level. So I narrate it. Some scholars don't agree, but there's nothing in it that is of concern. So you say alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said this right before, similar to this timing, before Ramadan. قال أتاكم رمضان شهر بركة يغشاكم الله فيه. Ramadan has come your way. It's a shahr, it's a month of barakah. It's a month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just giving you more than you could possibly. Barakah means things are amplified to levels that we can't fully understand. Something is taken and it's just amplified. It's something really small, it's going to turn into something way bigger than you ever thought was imaginable. Which is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks of Himself, He says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ. تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Everything He does has barakah in it. Because he starts with nothing. He started with nothing, and he turned it into all of this. And that's the biggest form of barakah, from nothing to something. And then he takes the smallest act of khair, and then he amplifies it. شَهْرُ بَرَكَةٍ يَغْشَاكُمُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala smothers you within this month. With what? فَيُنزِلُ الرَّحْمَةِ. He sends down all of His mercy, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَحُطُّ الْخَطَايَا. And He removes sins, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَسْتَجِيبُ فِيهِ الدُّعَاء. And He accepts within it supplication and dua. وَيَنظُرُ فِيهِ إِلَى تَنَافُسِكُمْ فِي الْخَيْرِ. And then He observes as you compete with one another in doing khair. Not because we want to beat each other, but we want to motivate each other. So we're competing to be the best. I'm going to try harder, so that you try harder, so that I try harder, so that we both make it to the finish line and we do well. I'm not trying to get ahead of you, but rather I want all of us to get ahead by doing that. وَيَنظُرُ فِيهِ إِلَى تَنَافُسِكُمْ فِي الْخَيْرِ وَيُبَاهِي بِكُمْ مَلَائِكَتَهُ. And He shows you off to His malaika, who were skeptical at the beginning, weren't they? They weren't sure about us. They weren't wrong completely. But He told them, subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Amongst them, there'll be something that you didn't think was possible. And during Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows the malaika. See, look at my servants. See, one of the few times He can. Because the rest of the year, we're not very impressive. But in Ramadan, He can show off. And it's not a personal need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's not the way we do it, as in we have a need to increase our value. But it's more of, you understand the concept here. He shows the malaika, here are the servants who aren't forced not to eat and drink during the day. And they're not forced to stay up all night in prayer, but they do it. And they do it with this open heart, hoping that I forgive them and give them. فَيُبَاهِي بِهِمْ مَلَائِكَةً فَأَرُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ خَيْرًا. So show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from yourselves the best that you got. Bring your A game, is basically what He's saying, alayhi salatu wasalam. فَأَرُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ خَيْرًا. Show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from yourself the khair, the goodness that you have. Show Him what you got, so much what you're hoping for, how well you can be. فَإِنَّ الشَّقِيَّ مَنْ حُرِمَ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ فِيهِ. Because the deprived one or the miserable one is the one who is deprived from the rahmah of Allah, from the mercy of Allah during the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us His mercy, inshallah. He gave that khutbah alayhi salatu wasalam, this right before Ramadan, to motivate the Sahaba and to get them to start thinking. So the first piece of your Ramadan plan. Number one, you must work on your intention. Make sure that you take some time and work on your intention. What is it that you want out of this month? Things in this world are only as good as their intentions. And this is not just Islam speaking. I know that we've memorized the Prophet ﷺ's famous hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ أَوْ بِالنِّيَّةِ, that deeds are only as good, are only counted or only rewarded or accepted based on their intentions. But even if you were to step away from religion and just talk to those who aren't necessarily religious, you will find that deeds in general, actions or plans, or they're only as good as the motive behind them, the plan that they carried, the intention that they had. If you find out that someone helped you, but their intention was not what they told you it was, or a good intention, you'll be very upset. You will feel betrayed. If there's a teacher who was teaching you and you thought that they taught you because they thought something great about you, or they loved you, and you found out they were just paid for it, or they were doing it to get to someone else, you feel absolutely betrayed. Even though the person taught you, and even though nothing changed, even though you just found out something, it didn't change anything, but you suddenly feel betrayed. But why? It didn't, like the whole experience, nothing changed about the experience. You just found out something about this man or this person's thought process before he even did it. Nothing changed in the experience, and yet you are completely betrayed. You don't respect them anymore. You want to trash everything they taught you. It's good. Because you feel in life that deeds are only as good as their intention. You feel that way. You feel, if someone's being nice to you and you find out that they were not being nice to you because they like you, but because they had some other secondary gain, some other plan, other agenda, you feel horrible. You'll never trust them again. And you don't want them to be your friends. And you don't want someone like that in your life. And it keeps on going. We don't just want people to do things that are nice and right. We want to make sure that they're doing it for the right reason too. We care about that as human beings a lot. And we feel very betrayed if someone had the wrong thought process. Think about it in your life. I can give you, I don't want to ruin your day with examples that will keep you up at night, but there's a lot of examples that could exist here. And subhanAllah, I've seen marriages end, I've seen friendships end, I've seen things end just based on someone slipping and saying, yeah, at the time I didn't really care about this, I was just thinking about that. But it's like when you did this, it wasn't because wasn't because of that. It wasn't because you liked me or you loved me or you cared about me. No, and they don't want this anymore. They don't, because they feel their whole life was a lie. They feel like everything is a lie. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats us the same. And this is not only how you feel about stuff, it's also about the validity of the actions. If someone was trying to achieve A, but then achieved B, we don't really treat them. We don't treat them the same way had they wanted to achieve B to begin with. If they were going for A and got to B, you don't treat it as the same way as if they were going for B and they got to B. No, it's not the same thing. Right? They're not credited the same way. They're not valued the same way. Because for us, we know that actions have to, their intentions, the motivation behind them matter. So if you are going into Ramadan, the first thing you have to do is you have to think about why. Why? Why are you going to fast? Why are you going to pray? What are you hoping to get out of all this? What's the goal? If you can do that now, you'll never lose sight of that goal. That goal will stay. Meaning, every time in Ramadan you feel, you just remind yourself, what was I trying to achieve? Have I achieved it yet? The answer is going to be no, because the achievements are all fil akhirah. So you're going to get up again. I haven't got it yet. I haven't received the rahmah of Allah. We're going to talk about those goals, inshallah, in the lecture next week. So I'll talk about them next week. But you have to start figuring out, what is it that you want? What are you hoping to achieve from this Ramadan? Set your goals clearly so that you make that intention. Ya Rabb, I'm going to commit myself this month. I'm going to dedicate myself to you this month, Ya Rabb, because I want from this and this and this. Not just things that you want, not just dua that you want. We'll talk about dua. But what you're hoping to achieve for yourself in terms of closeness to Allah and understanding of the Quran and changing of your habits and whatever things you hope to do with this blessed month. Or tawbah from bad habits or changing of companionship. Or understanding of your deen, whatever you want to do. But make your intention. Work on it. Work on the sincerity of the intention. Work on the clarity of the intention. Write them down if you have to. I still do this. I still write something down. There's still a goal each Ramadan. There's a bunch of goals that I've agreed with myself will be my goals every Ramadan, but there's always one that's specific to that Ramadan that I'm hoping to achieve for myself. This is what I suggest. It's cheesy, I agree, but it works. It absolutely works. I've been doing it every single year, and it still works. Just make the intention. This is going to be the best one. What if, it doesn't matter. It can always be the best one. It can always be the best one, if you think about it. The moment you stop making that intention, that's when you start going backwards. Just like, Ramadan of 20-something. You're all young. I look back in Ramadan 1990 something. If you start looking back and saying, those were good Ramadans, that means you didn't make the right intention. Because every Ramadan should be the best one. Like you should be trying to top the one before in your ibadah, in your closeness, in your dedication, in your commitment, in the barakah that you find within that month. And you keep on trying to make it better so that you don't start going the opposite way. And Ramadans get less quality. You want Ramadans with more quality. So make that the intention. This will be, especially if you're young, do it now. Make this intention so that you can, inshallah, start to find the beauty and the pleasure and the pleasantness of Ramadan by making your intention, make it the best month of Ramadan of your life. Number 2, fasting with excellence. So fasting is obviously the main piece of Ramadan. Without fasting, it's not really Ramadan. It's just, praying at night, which you could do without Ramadan. Ramadan, what makes it special are the 30 consecutive days of fasting, at least for men. 30 days you're going to be fasting. Dawn to dusk. It is, I'm going to detail this for you, inshallah, in another lecture. But you cannot treat fasting as a handicap. Don't treat fasting as a handicap. I am fasting, and so I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't achieve this, and I'm more tired, and I'm less productive, and I'm less kind, and I'm more irritable. No, don't treat fasting like that. Fasting is not designed to be that. Fasting is designed to be many things for you, and that's not one of them. That's not one of them. When you treat fasting like a handicap, it turns into a handicap, and it's not a handicap. Fasting is your ability to understand how little you actually need in comparison to how much you want in life. Fasting is there to show you how easily you could function on way less than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Fasting takes away distractions within the day. in order for you to be able to focus on something different. Because if you can't eat and drink, it's a big part of our day. Like a lot of our energy is focused on when the next meal is going to be. During work, I'm thinking about lunch. Before I leave, I'm thinking about home to get home and have my dinner. Then I'm thinking about, you're always thinking about food. Like food is always in the back of our minds because we're mammals and we're human. We're human beings. So food and drink is a part of the discussion. And especially if you're Arab, then that's all you think about most of the day. And I want to enjoy something. What am I going to do? I'm going to talk to one of my friends and see where are we going to eat tonight. And we go eat because we want to get fatter. There's not much else we don't really find joy. So when you remove that piece completely, you remove food and you remove drink, it takes away that distraction. It allows you to actually focus on something different. Allows you to think about things with more clarity. And that is the truth here. You get to show you are one step farther away from haram. Right? Like if you are taking away from your life the halal, which is food and drink and relations with your spouse, you're taking away the halal, the stuff, your basic needs to function as a human being. You're removing them. You're removing the halal. So that means you're one step away from haram. It wouldn't be appropriate if you're not eating and drinking when you're hungry for the sake of Allah, but just scroll and look at pictures of it. It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Doesn't, or to gossip, or to no. So that's what fasting is there for. It's fasting. That's what the Prophet ﷺ would say. من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به فلا حاجة أو فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Prophet ﷺ, Hadith ibn Majah, that those who don't leave lying and false testimony and acting based on lies and being untruthful and dishonest, if they don't stop doing that, then there's no need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them to stop eating and drinking. Like Allah does not need them to starve themselves or to be thirsty if they're going to keep on doing that. So the whole point was that. So fasting with excellence, meaning really fasting, understanding what fasting is, and then seeing it as a little bit of a step away from distractions, a step away from the daily noise in your life, where you're just trying to eat and drink and get through. Step away from it and slow down, right? And allow yourself to calm your nafs. You're taming your nafs. If you can tame your nafs not to eat and drink when it's hungry and thirsty, then I know you can tame it from losing your temper. I know you can tame it from gossiping. I know you can tame it from being arrogant and vain. I know, because you withheld from it food and drink. I know the moment, that first day of Ramadan, at 12:30, when I finished my afternoon or morning clinic, the fact that I don't go and make myself a cup of tea, I know at that moment that I could do almost anything. I just don't want to. I just don't want to because I'm lazy and I'm not very good. But I know I can, because if I am feeling the way I feel at that moment, hunger and thirst and the need for caffeine at 12:30 p.m., and I still don't do it, I don't even press the button to listen to the water, nothing. I don't buy it and sit and look at it, nothing. You don't even come close to food, right? It's not like, if you can do that, then you can do anything else. So fast with excellence. Fast, actually fast. Not just withhold food and water from your belly, but withhold bad words from your tongue, and bad things to look at from your eyes, and bad things to listen to with your ears, and hold your hand back from harming people and your feet back from walking in directions of harm. Actually fast. That is what siyam is. You're abstaining and withholding from all forms of sin. All right, that's number 2. Write this down for your own sake, and then come up with your plan for it. Like, what are you going to do different? As in, what are you going to do different regarding fasting well? What intention are you actually going to have? Because everyone has a different context. And fasting with excellence for you is going to be different than fasting with excellence for me. For me, it's continuing to run my clinic properly and take care of my patients well and give them all the time and not use it as an excuse to run through things and to not offer them my full attention. That's what fasting with excellence is. And coming home and spending time with my kids and doing all of the tarawih and the durus that I have to do and for fajr and all that stuff. And doing it well and making sure the quality stays there and not complaining about little tertiary aspects of living in a first world country. So that's what for me. You figure out what fasting with excellence is going to be for you, because we all know what that is. Number 3, enjoy the Quran, ya akhi. Enjoy it. It's a joy. The Quran is a joy. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Every aspect of the Quran is beautiful. There's nothing in the Quran that's not beautiful. Everything, the way it sounds is beautiful. The meanings are beautiful. The rhythm of it is beautiful. The voice of anyone who recites it turns beautiful even when they don't have a nice voice. So everything about the Quran, it is artistic and it is philosophical. It is meaningful and it is moving. It is emotional and it's intellectual. It can serve someone who has the simplest understanding of life, and it can serve someone who has the most complex understanding of life. And everyone in between benefits from the beauty of this book and the way that it tells the stories and the way that it explains the concepts and the way that it brings the heart closer and the mind closer and allows both the heart and mind to be aligned in the way they're going to approach their own lives. It's beautiful. Enjoy it. It's the book that you inherited from the Prophet ﷺ. This is Allah's gift to humankind. This is the gift. Here's something that will save you, save all of you. So it has to. It has to do its job. It saved us before, and it'll save us again. But you have to give it a chance to do so. You have to embrace it. You have to enjoy it. So use this month to do that. And a way of doing that is having a daily hizb. Make sure you have a daily hizb. Hizb means an amount of Quran. It's not hizb as in half juz or something. No, hizb just means an amount of the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ, this is what he used to tell the Sahaba. This is what Ibn Umar says. كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمرنا إذا نسينا حزبنا أن نقرأه أول اليوم الثاني. So if you had a hizb and you forgot it, the Prophet ﷺ's command for you was make up for it in the morning and then do the next day. So you don't get to omit it. You don't get to omit the hizb. Like your amount of Quran, you can't omit that. If you missed it today, tomorrow morning, read it, and then read tomorrow later on during the day. Do not omit. Doesn't matter how much it is. It could be whatever it is you want. Like you can choose, as your hafid, it should be a juz' or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or even more if you're a hafid. If you're not a hafid, then what can you do? If you read Arabic, you should be at least a juz', if not more. If you can't read Arabic, then whatever you can do, less than that. Do a page, less than a page, whatever you can commit to. But make sure there's a daily amount of Quran that you read every day, and use Ramadan as a launching pad for that. Do it for 30 days straight, so that after Ramadan you can do a little bit of Quran every single day. In Ramadan, give it a nice big chunk of your day. Wallahi, I'm telling you this, but that's not what I was taught. That's not what I was taught. I was taught in Ramadan to do nothing but read Quran every moment of the day that you weren't doing something else. وكان سفيان الثوري رضي الله عنه المحدث كان إذا دخل رمضان لم يجلس للحديث وتفرغ للقرآن. Imam al-Thawri, who was a great muhaddith, Ramadan came in, he didn't ever narrate a hadith. That's it. He put that majlis away and he dedicated himself to the Quran. وكان الإمام مالك إذا دخل شهر رمضان ترك التحديث وترك الموطأ وجلس للقرآن. Imam Malik, who wrote the great Muwatta, the earliest book of hadith historically, he would leave it, he would not teach it, he would not let anyone write it or ask any questions about it, and he would dedicate himself to the Quran. And the stories on that front specifically are endless. Of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the ulama. When Ramadan came, that's it. They put everything aside. إذا كان فقيها ترك الفقه وإذا كان أصوليا ترك الأصول وإذا كان محدثا ترك الحديث. Whatever he was, فقيه, he left fiqh. ثم تفرغوا لقراءة القرآن. And then they just went and they focused on the Quran. And they just read the Quran time and time again. As many times as they needed. As many times as they could. Not just a qira'ah to get the hasanat of reading it, but also a qira'ah to reflect on the meanings of it. And this is what I advise you to do. If you want my advice, this is what you do. Because I've been doing this for a long time, all Ramadan I just read. I don't count the khatmat, I just read. Keep on reading. I finish, I start again. Finish, I start again. But I have, and this is not just in Ramadan, but outside Ramadan, I have a daily, like I have maybe a surah or a few ayat that within a week or 2 or 3, I focus on. I think about them, I contemplate them, I read everything about them possible. And I've done this maybe 4 or 5 times. Meaning I went through the Quran a number of times just doing that same thing. I choose a few ayat or I choose a surah, and this is it. For the month, these are my verses. And I just keep on reading them. And I just keep on reciting them and thinking about them and looking up what other scholars have said about them and going online and seeing what other durus I found from someone who talked. I just listen and just keep on thinking about these verses and then I move on. So you can do both. You can have an amount of Quran that you just recite for the ajr of getting hasanat for reading, and a small amount of time that you dedicate for contemplation, for reflection, where you take the verses and you just think about them. You think about what they mean. And I do this obviously with you throughout the nights of Ramadan and the mornings of Ramadan, so I help you out. But this should be your own, a little bit of your own focus here. You read, you listen, you reflect, take notes, add something to your understanding of the Quran. Find something that you can dedicate yourself to later. Enjoy the Quran. I can't emphasize this piece enough. If I had to choose one thing of this whole plan to insert into your heart and in your mind, as you leave is really try to enjoy the Quran in this month. This is your opportunity. You don't really get another opportunity like this that is as clear. The main reason, by the way, just so you know, is because it's in Ramadan that the Quran was descended down to the heavens, from the heavens. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. It's in Ramadan. Ramadan became Ramadan because of the Quran. It's not the other way around. Ramadan, its status, comes from the fact that it contains within it the night that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descended the Quran to the heavens, where Jibreel would bring it piece by piece to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. It's within that. So Ramadan's status comes from the fact that Laylatul Qadr exists within it, which is the night where the Quran was first revealed. The night of Iqra' bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq happened there, right? So that's why. So Ramadan's status is based on the Quran, not the other way around. So when you focus on the Quran, you're just focusing on the whole reason that this month has that status. This month, Ramadan became the master of months, the head chief of months. All the months all wish they could be Ramadan. Not even Dhul Hijjah makes it up, because only Dhul Hijjah has 2-3 days that have barakah, and then the rest of them are normal. Ramadan, every single day and every single night has a specificity. And nothing is like it. Why? Because the Quran was revealed in it. So it's our annual Quran retreat. That's what Ramadan is. It's our annual Quran retreat. Let's go back to the book. Let's listen to it in Taraweeh. Let's study it during the day. Let's actually get rid of food and drink so that we can be fully focused. Not all day and all night, because you'll die from starvation. Eat a little bit at the night. A little bit. Just to keep yourself alive. So that you can focus on the Quran, reading it and acting the meanings during the day, and reading and praying with it during the night, and learning it during the night. And that's how you're going to build your relationship with the Quran. Once you have an active, meaningful relationship with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're set for life. Number 4, engaging in invocation. You have to have a dhikr. You have to do dhikr in Ramadan. This is the time to build it. If you don't have it, like if you're not used to it, if you're not used to sitting around and saying Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah wa bihamdi, Subhanallah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim tasliman kathira. If you're not used to saying these words of Salah ala Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and La ilaha illallah and La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, your tongue is not used to making dhikr, this is the time. What else are you going to do at 12:30 when you can't have a coffee or tea? Instead of cursing your life and cursing people around you, go to this direction. Because that's what I feel like. I feel like I want to turn to the first person in front of me, and I've been wanting to tell them something for years. And I feel like this is the moment that suddenly I want to tell them what I feel, because I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and I'm frustrated that I can't have my tea. So instead of doing that, and ruining your siyam, by the way, you can sit there and udhkurillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you open your phone and start scrolling, you're losing hasanat for your siyam. Your siyam is going. No scrolling is halal or good. There is no good halal scrolling. It doesn't exist. Unless you have beat the algorithm where every scrolling is a big man with a big lihya who's talking to you about Islam. Unless you figured out the algorithm and every scroll is a sheikh who's talking to you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I would like to see your phone. Aside from that, all of it is just stupidity. It's silly stuff. It's some guy who slammed his car into some other guy, or a hamster playing with a ball, or a pink dog who scared someone. Some silly thing that is meaningless. It's a waste of time, or worse than that, there's haram in it. So instead of doing that on your day of siyam, when you sit there, wadhkurillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have a daily wird. It's called a wird. What I am teaching you is what the Prophet ﷺ taught. He taught the Sahaba to have a hizb and a wird. Outside of Ramadan, he taught them this. All of them had to have a hizb and a wird. They had to have a daily amount of Quran they recited and a daily amount of dhikr that they performed. They started small amounts, and they built upon them over time. Wallahi, one of my teachers would do Salah ala Nabi alayhi salatu 10,000 times a day. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There was no effort in it. It was effortless. He had been doing it for so long, it was completely effortless. He just sat there. Yusalli ala Rasulillah alayhi salatu wasalam. He didn't start with that. He started with maybe 100. And then slowly, over 50 years, he built something. And he was able to find time and find organization and find joy in Salah ala Rasulillah alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that Sayyidina Uthman would have 35,000 tasbihah a day. And Sayyidina Abu Hurairah would have 40,000 tasbihah a day. Between astaghfirullah wa subhanallah wa alhamdulillah. It's not hard, by the way. In Ramadan, I tell people you need to do 300 in the morning and 300 in the afternoon. between istighfar and la ilaha illallah and salah ala nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Do 300. That's 600. If you do 300 in the morning on your way to work, it takes you 10 minutes, 11 minutes. On the way back, it's 11 minutes, that's 600. Then after each salah, do 100. Subhanallah 33, Alhamdulillah 33, Allah Akbar 33. 5 salawat times 10, that's 500. Now you're already at 1100. You're at 1100, you haven't really done anything. You haven't sat after a Salat al-Fajr, for example, and engaged in 15 minutes of tasbih. So if you just start, before you go to sleep, you do another 100, right? You should. Everyone should be doing 100 before they go to sleep. Subhanallah, 33. Alhamdulillah, 33. Allahu Akbar, 34. That's what the Prophet ﷺ taught. That's 1200 tasbih during the day. What does it add up to? Nothing. Wallah, nothing. It's like takes less than a minute. It's very quick. So get into the habit of wird. If you're sitting in Ramadan and you're doing nothing, udhkurillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Especially when you come in to my dars before Isha. So especially if you come in and the dars is happening for Isha, instead of talking with one another, especially the brothers, because the brothers do this way more than the sisters do it. When you come in, maybe instead of talking and by people salam, hugging, and just sit and do tasbih and dhikr. Just do that for the few minutes that are happening so I can continue doing what I'm doing and you don't have to get distracted. If before salah you start engaging in a lot of chit chat and talk, you lose a lot of the spirituality in it. You want to be focused. You can do it after salah, after the prayers, so you can go ahead and engage. But before that, be focused. Between the raka'at, if your impulse is to pull your phone and start, just keep it there. Udhkurillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Udhkurillah for the few minutes. If you do these things with a little bit of time, with a few nights in a row, your nafs will calm, your spirit will calm. And you'll find a little bit more tranquility. And you'll be able to pray and you'll enjoy it a little bit more. Instead of being antsy and just wanting to get out, just calm yourself. Use the Prophet ﷺ says, La yazal. When he was asked by a Sahabi, Dullani ala shay'in, atashabbath bihi. Give me something from the deen I can hold on to. Kathurat alayya shara'i al-Islam. There's too many halals and harams in your deen. I'm a very simple person. It's too complicated. Give me one thing to hold on to. فَقَالَ لَا يَزَالُ لِسَانُكَ رَطْبًا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. May your tongue continuously be moist in the remembrance of Allah and the invocation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always speak of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 5, investing in salah. Invest in your salah. This is the time to learn how to pray properly. If you have not yet, like if you don't have that connection, if you stand there and you're just waiting for it to end, and when you're praying alone, you're more of a 100-meter dash prayer, then this is the time to invest in something different. This is the time where you can learn how to actually find joy in salah, in finding your heart in salah. That's why we have all these rak'at, these extra rak'at. We do, for example, here we do 13 rak'at, right? 13, you times that by 30. It's like 400 rak'at, almost a month. Why are we doing 400? Practice makes perfect. That's why. Because the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Just every time you get up, try to make this a better rak'ah than the one before. You get up again, try to make this one better than the one before. You keep on working on it. You learn about salah. You learn about the meaning of salah, the meaning of the movements, what's in them. And you focus. And when you're done, Taraweeh, you go home. If it's a day off, you stand up at night, you hold the Quran, and you perform a few raka'at of tahajjud by yourself. And you invest in your salah, so that after Ramadan, you're someone who finds in prayer the calmness of the heart, the tranquility, the serenity, the ease that prayer is supposed to bring for you in your life. Instead of prayer being a burden that you're carrying, that I have to pray and I have to find time for it, prayer is something you look forward to. You make wudu, and then you can just forget about all of your masa'ib, all the masa'ib that are happening. This is the only time of the day where you don't have to think about patients and staff and problems and people fasting before other people in the same city and all this other masa'ib. I don't have to think about that stuff. I can just stand there and pray. I don't have to think about anything. It's a very meaningful thing because we need it. Our hearts need it. You need to have that moment of escape. It's not escape from the reality, but it's just allowing you to engage in some degree of self-focus with the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Invest in your salah. Don't pray. You're young, especially the younger guys here. Don't do a taraweeh without a khatmah. If you're young, I forbid you from performing a taraweeh without a khatmah in it, wherever you may be. And I forbid you from leaving before it's done. You stand until the last minute. If you don't stand now, when are you going to stand? When you're 70? If you're not going to do it now, when you're nice and young and healthy and your knees work and your feet work, and you have time and you don't have a spouse at home that's waiting for you and kids that are nagging at you and a horrible job that you don't want to go to, when are you going to do this? This is your time. to stand in salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you this opportunity to stand there and let the imam read. Hold the mushaf behind him and watch, go along, read along, and stand there and just stand. Dude, just stay, you're fine, you're fine. I know for a fact that if you leave salah beforehand, you will not sleep before the end of Taraweeh. I swear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I am willing to if betting was halal in Islam, I would bet all of my money that not one person who leaves Taraweeh early sleeps before the end of Taraweeh. Everyone's awake until Taraweeh is over. They just choose not to stand. So for the people who are a bit older, who have jobs, that's fine. I understand this. But if you're young, la. When I was younger, these are my favorite memories. My dad used to work 2 shifts in the Haram, in Mecca. So when I was grade 7. So my dad used to he worked in the Zamzam pumps. So after iftar, he would go to the Haram, and I would go with him. He would drop me off, and he would go down. There's a car park under the Haram, and he would go to his office. And I had a little sajada, and I would go in, because I'm only one kid, so I'd go right inside and put my sajada right in front of the Kaaba. There used to be these lines. It's changed now. I've been watching TV. It doesn't look, it's unrecognizable to me, honestly, the sahan, to how it was in the 90s. But there was always a way to kind of fit right beside. I would find like an older man who seemed like a nice guy and see if he would fit. He'd be sitting right beside the rail. I would ask him if I could fit myself between him and the rail, and most of the times it would be okay. And I put my sajada and stand there and pray the full. Those are best times of my entire life. Honestly, there's nothing that topped them till this day. They stand in front of find joy in Taraweeh. Just find joy in standing there and just listening to the Quran being recited. Obviously, the Greek center is not equivalent to the Kaaba. Obviously, that center is not going to be, but we try our best to make it a good experience. Where inshallah, there's ilm being the good reciters, nice voices, the timings are reasonable. But learn when you're young, this is your time. Make sure you take care of your daily prayers. Your daily prayers, you don't miss any of them in Ramadan. Pray in congregation as many times as possible. As many times as you can do jama'ah, do jama'ah. Even if you can't come to the masjid, you have a roommate, you have a friend, pray jama'ah in the house. You have a father, you have a brother, don't pray alone. Don't steal asr and dhuhr, whatever, and maghrib alone. Pray with someone in the house if you can't come to the masjid. And then pray a Taraweeh with a khatma. Listen to the whole Quran in your salah. I can't advise anything stronger than that. Expand your knowledge. Make sure that you have a plan for learning. Ramadan is the month of knowledge being dispersed. Like all of the shuyukh, they prepare all of their good series and they unload them in Ramadan. And I think that's very meaningful and it's important because this is the time to learn. So make sure you find something. You don't have to listen to me. Find someone that you enjoy though and listen to them. Listen to them all month long. Like find a scholar that you find that you connect with and then make sure you listen every day. Make sure that there's a daily commitment of you expanding your knowledge and learning something new. The reason that I do like after Fajr and before Isha and after Asr Durus is to make sure that there's something available for every time spot. Like if you're not a bad after Fajr guy, then you'll be a before Isha guy. If you're not a before Isha guy, then maybe after Asr. To make sure there's something available to you. But honestly, mashallah, Sheikh Omar Sulaiman and Sheikh Asr Qadi, all these, they have like there's a lot of material online. Find something that works for you and commit to it daily and expand your knowledge. Make sure you're learning more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more about your deen. Use this month. This is the month where your mind works the best. Especially for younger guys who memorize Quran in Ramadan. Ramadan is Ramadan, we used to double or triple the amount of our hifz in Ramadan. By far, it was not even close. The whole year would be one thing, and then Ramadan would be just like, why? Because there's nothing to do. Because al-bitna tudhibu al-fitna. When a full stomach takes away half of the intellect. So if you're an empty stomach after Asr, just try to memorize and see. Try if you haven't before tried. I remember, my record as a kid is my record of hifz as a kid is I memorized all of Surah Al-Zumar in one day in Ramadan. The whole 10, I was like a grade 5 or 6, the whole thing. And I was too tired, and the Sheikh was like, memorize the first page, let's see. So I memorized the first page. Go back, get the second. I'm tired, just get the second. So I went and got the second. And then he kept on doing this for me. And by the time before Maghrib, I had gotten the whole thing. Ramadan is a time where so gain knowledge. Whether memorizing Quran, listening to a dars, take notes, hold on to them later on as something that you learn during this month. You will not regret it. Number 7, reviving relationships. قاطع رحم يا أخي وعاق الوالدين. They don't do well in Ramadan. If you're عاق الوالدين, if you've ruined your relationship with your parents, you need to fix that. If you're qati' rahim, if you have severed the relationships of kin in your life, then you need to fix that. If you're a mushahin, if you're someone who has harmed others and ruins friendships and يعني هجرت أخاك المسلم, you have left your Muslim brother or Muslim sister, you don't talk to them anymore for something that is not worth it, fix it. Fix it at the beginning of Ramadan. Not for them. Do it as selfishly as possible for you, so that you can enter with a heart that is clean, so that you can enjoy a Ramadan that does not carry with it all the grudges and all the negative impacts of severed relationships with parents and with relatives and with people that matter to you. Pick up the phone every day in Ramadan. Call someone you haven't called in 10 years. Talk to someone that you know you should have talked to a long time ago, but you haven't. This is hard. I struggle with this one because I know way too many people back in Syria. And I'm like, if I start doing this, then I'll never end. This will go on forever. So I have to be very careful But think about it. I know there must be a distant aunt or a distant cousin or a friend that you used to, or someone who once was nice to you and you haven't really thanked them properly in your life. Take 10, 15 minutes a day and make a phone call and revive relationships that matter to you. Number 8, be of service. Be of service in Ramadan. It works. It's such a good deal. If you made the intention at the beginning of the month, as I explained to you, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all month long, but then you volunteer a little bit, like say tonight they needed some help with parking or they needed help with cleaning, so you couldn't pray the full rak'at and you had to help. You get the ajr of the prayer that you missed and the ajr of the volunteering that you did. You get double. You get both. So be of service. Make sure that Ramadan is the month where you serve. You do something for others. You give a sadaqah or you teach someone. If you have some knowledge, if you know something and you have some kids around you that don't, teach them. If you're 14, 15, 16 years old, make sure you find a kid who doesn't know Quran. Bring them in Ramadan. Sit with them in the masjid. Teach them how to read Surah Al-Fatiha appropriately. Make them love the Quran. Make it fun for them to memorize Surah Al-Ikhlas. When I first started teaching Quran, I was maybe 14, 15. I started with my youngest sibling, who is now 30 years old, my brother Omar. I started with him and his two cousins, Abdu and Muhammad. And I would sit them together and I would recite to them Juz' Amma. I finished for them Juz' Amma Ramadan and I got them gifts and it was this huge celebration and they never forgot it and I don't forget it either. The day that they finished it. Find something to do, find someone to help. Be of service somehow. If Quran is not your gig, it's not if teaching that's not your thing, well find something that is. Find something that you can do that is of service to others, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also sees the ajr in Ramadan, not just in acts of worship that are between you and Him, as in Quran, recitation and dhikr and salah, but He also sees a lot of barakah in acts of service. If you think about it, the Battle of Badr was in Ramadan. Fatih Makkah was in Ramadan. And if you go through historically the Islamic history, you'll find that the number of battles where the Muslims that happened in Ramadan are too many to count. Ramadan is not just a month to sit home and do nothing. It's a month where you serve. So find something that you can be of service of. Think of something that you can do. Whatever it may be, give from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you to give. Number 9. If you don't learn it in Ramadan, I don't know if you can. If you don't learn dua in Ramadan, then I doubt that you will, ever. You have to learn it in Ramadan. You have to, it's the launching pad for dua. Because I want to say I use the word art because it kind of is. There are rules for it, but then you have to learn how to do it. You have to learn how to speak to God. Because it's not how you would speak to your friend, or your parent, or your boss, or your teacher, or your mentor, or your kid. These are all creations. You speak to them based on speaking to the supreme power of the universe, speaking to the King of Kings, to the Almighty Divine Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. This is a whole different thing. Speaking to someone who does not respond to you through direct words in direct conversation is different. It's not the same thing. And dua is this conversation that you're having with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you express your fears, you express your worries, your anxieties, your hopes, your dreams, what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to avoid, what you don't know if you're strong enough to deal with, what you're hoping that you get help in dealing. You're speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're expressing what exists inside of you. You're expressing all of the emotions that you have, the emotions that you wish you had, the emotions that you wish you didn't have. Right? You talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbi, I wish I actually felt the love I should feel towards you. I wish I wasn't envious towards people. I wish I didn't have that little chip on my shoulder that I seem to have. I wish I wasn't someone who had a temper. I wish, Ya Rab, help me. You're not using wish, but that's why you're talking to him. Ya Rab, I don't want to have it. Ya Rab, remove it from my heart. Ya Rab, and you learn how to do it. This is how the Prophet ﷺ made dua. He would put his hands up like this until you could see the whiteness of his armpits. Why? Because they used to wear baggy galabiyat, so they would fall right down. And these are designed differently. So they fall right down. So you would see, he would put his hand like this, and then put his head down. Ya Rab, Ya Rab, like this is how you make dua alayhi salatu wasalam in his life. It's an art. Learn how to do it. Learn how to sit down and speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do it every day for as long as you can. Memorize for Ramadan. Write them down. Write them down. Write down the ad'iyah that you're going to make in Ramadan in your sujood. Write them down. I do this every year. Write them down. So that you make sujood, the imam makes sujood, out, you got them. Right? I do it so I do it every year that it takes me like a month later to stop doing them. Especially if they got accepted. Like if I made a dua and it got accepted, it takes me a while to get, because I've been doing it every single sujood for the full 400 rak'ahs throughout the month, that when you go to dua, you say the same thing. But khalas, I don't need to say that anymore. I should make a different dua now because I already gave it to me. But memorize, write them down and write them and memorize them. Keep on saying, Allahumma, what is it that you want? Parents, afiyah, success in studies, sitr from fahisha, whatever you want to make, write them down and memorize it. And every time you make sujood, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. And learn to build this conversation. I'll talk about this throughout the month, so I will help you inshallah with this endeavor. But make sure you start building your capacity and speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meaningfully. The last one, number 10, the worship of act of planning. As in your life. This is a plan for Ramadan. But one of the acts of worship you should engage in within Ramadan is planning. What are you going to do with the several moons that you're going to spend on this planet? You're here for a few laps around the sun. What are you going to do with them? How are these going to play out? What is the end game for you? How are you going to be remembered? At the end, when you're gone, when it's all said and done, what was your legacy? What did you do? You have to have a plan for this. Not because the plan is going to work out perfectly. Actually, the plan is going to completely fail. It's not going to work at all. Everything you plan is going to probably begin. But having the plan means that you at least care for certain things. If you're planning, Ya Rab, I want to achieve this so that I can do this for your sake. Ya Rab, I want to achieve this so I can offer this for your sake. At least you're showing what you're hoping to do, and you start planning things out. In order for me to do this, I have to do 1, 2, 3. So you start figuring out what the milestones are. So you start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for more. So for example, I'll give you what I mean. We all make the dua for Nasr al-Muslimin. We have to. Allahumma ansur al-Islam wal Muslimin. Qulu ameen. This is what we do every time. That's a really huge one. That's a really big one. Like that's huge for Nasr and success to come all Muslims around the world, right? How? How is that going to happen? When you say that, what do you think of? Do you imagine thunderbolts coming down and hitting certain individuals and to end them? Or how do you see this happening? What contribution do you have towards it? Is this a process of logic and a process of work and effort? And if it is, what are the steps? And if there are steps, what is your role in them? And if you figure out your role, then maybe make dua also for you to achieve the first step towards that role. Maybe you have to start making dua just based on what is the step? What are you going to do? What is it? No one really, I'm not asking you to answer this question directly. It's a hard question to answer. But you have to start thinking about this. Ramadan is the time for you because you have that time, because you have that down time where you're hungry, you're not eating, so you're a bit quieter. You can sit back and think, what am I doing? Where am I going? What is my contribution to this ummah going to look like? What am I bringing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah? Aside from the basics of siyam and salah and zakah and hajj, aside from those, what am I bringing in terms of my contribution to this ummah, to the nation, to Muslims? What am I bringing them? And if you don't know yet, Ramadan is the time for you to start figuring that out. You start figuring it out in Ramadan. You start writing it down. I have these notebooks at home. When I left my house in Syria, I left clothing and I took the notebooks.
My wife was like, no, we have no space. And no. I will leave my son here, and I'll take these. This is coming with me. This is my life. No, this is coming with me. There's no, because we only had enough for one shanta. We had to leave in the middle of the night. It was ridiculous, because you would think you would take a few pieces of clothing. No. Only when I was worried. Like, you take all of your clothes? What space was supposed to be for my clothes? She said, this space here. All right. I threw the clothes out, and I put the books, I put the notebooks, and I still have them today with me. And no one can read my handwriting from back then except me. But I wrote within them. I remember sitting, grade 7, grade 8, writing down what is it we're going to do, how I was going to achieve it. Nothing that I thought was going to happen happened at all. Not even one. I planned out my life, and I can tell you very safely that every single milestone that I planned out for my life completely failed, and that I am not anywhere near where I thought I was going to be when I wrote them at all. Lakin alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me beyond my capacity to show gratitude. But having the plan meant that at least you are building direction. It means that you're putting yourself on a track, and you're trying to get towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's going to move you along different tracks, but your direction is the same. When you plan, you build direction. You don't actually figure out what you're going to do. It's like, I'm going towards you, Ya Rabb. I'm going to serve you. This is what I think I'm going to be able to serve you through. You probably won't get that. He'll move you around and put you in different roles, but your direction, your qibla stays the same. So write it down. Trust me, you'll look at this later on, and it'll bring some warmth to your heart, and it'll show you how life actually works. These are my 10 points. It's 9 o'clock, and I'll let you go. So number 1, work on your intention. Make sure you have a good intention for Ramadan, a good plan for Ramadan, of what you want. What is it that you want from Ramadan? What are you trying to achieve for yourself? Make sure that you fast with excellence, the best ability. Make sure that your fasting is good. Don't just don't just get through it. Fast well, and make sure you're farther away from haram that you've ever been, and that you're engaging in proper behaviors. Enjoy the Quran. Fill your heart with the Quran in Ramadan. Find your relationship with the Quran throughout Ramadan. Have a daily hizb. But make sure that you have daily invocations. Every day you have a wird of remembrance of Allah. And anytime you're sitting around doing nothing, then say Subhanallah, say Astaghfirullah, say Alhamdulillah. Make sure your tongue is moving with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Expand your knowledge. Learn something every day in Ramadan. Commit yourself to some lecture series or to something, so that you learn more, and you take notes and you think about them, and you contemplate them. Number 7, revive your relationships. The ones that are severed, that you should have, right? Especially with parents and relatives and friends and people that you have harmed, or people that you have cut off, that you should probably ask about every once in a while. Revive those relationships. It's a hard one to do. There's a lot of ajr in doing it. Be of service, whether that's service with your wealth, whether it's service with your knowledge, whether it's service with your volunteering and your time, whatever it is, be of service in Ramadan. Don't be selfish. A way of being selfish is to be of service of others. Learn how to make dua. Learn how to make dua. Learn how to do it. It's important. Build that capacity to pick up the phone, to speak to Allah, and keep keep it off the hook, and keep speaking to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala all of your life, because that's what He wants from you. He wants that communication. He spoke to you first with the Quran. Now you speak back to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala with that art of dua. So learn how to do it. And then finally, worship by planning out your life. Think about your life in Ramadan. Plan things out. Start looking at your future. Think about what you're going to do, how you're going to serve, how you're going to be well, and you'll find that this will all, inshallah, benefit you in the long term. I hope that was a benefit to you. Subhanallah, bihamdik, shadu la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina wa habibina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, tomorrow we will have lessons from 25 years of Taraweeh. You're welcome to join and listen